Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something that's creating quite a buzz, especially for us in public service.
That's right. We're talking about AI agents.
And specifically, how we can actually, use them practically in our automation strategies. We found a really insightful piece on automation.com that helps frame this.
It does. And look, forget the sort of sci-fi hype for a minute. We want to focus on the real-world application for public servants.
Yeah, the brass tacks.
Exactly. How can these, advanced AI tools genuinely make things better? Better for citizens accessing services and more effective for our internal processes.
Right, because that's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
For anyone working in public service, it's about delivering the best possible service to the public.
And helping our colleagues focus on the parts of the job that really need that human touch, that expertise.
But, and this is a big but the article touches on, just chucking AI at a problem isn't the answer.
Oh, definitely not.
It can actually backfire if we're not strategic. There's even an Accenture report mentioned, suggesting poorly done AI is, contributing significantly to tech debt.
Which is the absolute last thing any public agency needs, right? More complexity, more problems down the line.
Precisely. A messy rollout could mean tangled processes, frustration for staff, and worst of all, a poor experience for the citizens we're trying to help.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, really, to figure out how we can integrate these AI agents thoughtfully.
So we get the benefits, the efficiency, the help with repetitive tasks without falling into those traps.
Okay, so where do we start? The article breaks down sort of the fundamentals, how these agents work within automation.
It talks about business processes involving different endpoints. You've got people, obviously different systems, including AI now, and maybe even devices.
And the thing holding it all together, making sure data or tasks flow correctly between these points, is called process orchestration.
That orchestration piece seems key.
It really is. And it highlights a major difference between, let's say, traditional automation and these AI agents.
Or so.
Well, traditional automation often follows very predictable rules. If X happens, do Y. It's predefined logic.
Step by step, you know what you're going to get.
Exactly. But AI agents, especially the ones using large language models or LLMs, they're different.
They introduce unpredictability.
To a degree, yes. Their outputs, the way they might respond or what action they take, isn't always scripted in the same way. It can vary.
The article calls them a bit of a wild card, which honestly sounds a little worrying for public service applications. We need reliability, right?
We absolutely do. But that variability, that flexibility can also be a huge advantage.
Okay, explain that.
Think about processes that aren't rigid, things that don't follow the exact same steps every single time.
Like citizen inquiries, they could be about anything.
Precisely. Or processing different kinds of applications, say for benefits or permits. There's often a lot of unstructured information, different paths, depending on the case.
Things that are hard to automate traditionally because they need, judgment or understanding of context.
Right. And that's where these AI agents could come in. They can potentially handle some of that variability, maybe gathering initial information, drafting a first response based on analyzing lots of data.
Handling the less structured parts.
Exactly. Potentially automating more of those processes that have always been really manual and, frankly, time-consuming for public servants.
So the article mentions examples like insurance claims or customer complaints, but it's easy to see the parallel in public service.
Oh, absolutely. Helping someone start an application, answering common questions that come in through various channels.
That could free up our colleagues to deal with the really complex cases, the sensitive situations where you absolutely need a person involved.
That's the potential upside, making better use of everyone's time and skills.
Okay, but let's circle back to that wild card aspect, the unpredictability. That must bring challenges, especially for government.
Huge challenges. We operate in highly regulated environments. Auditability, governance, these aren't optional extras. They're fundamental.
We need to be able to explain why a decision was made, especially if it affects a citizen's access to services or rights.
And the article flags a pretty stark statistic here. Something like 84% of organizations are running into regulatory compliance issues because they lack transparency around their AI.
84%.
No,
That's wow. That really highlights the risk.
It does. It shows this isn't just a theoretical concern. If you can't see how an AI agent reached a conclusion, how can you ensure it's fair, compliant, and accountable?
Especially in public service where trust is paramount.
Exactly. But And this is crucial, the article doesn't say it's impossible. It suggests that process orchestration is the way to manage this risk.
Ah, back to orchestration. So how does that help with the compliance and auditability side?
Well, think of orchestration as providing the guardrails and the logbook for the whole process. Even if an AI agent is doing a specific task within that process, the orchestration platform can track what task it was assigned, what information it used, and what its output was.
So it creates a visible trail.
Yes, a visual audit trail. It makes it much easier to go back and verify decisions, understand the flow, and importantly, generate reports needed for compliance.
That makes sense. It provides the context to the record keeping around the AI's actions.
Right. And it also offers flexibility. The article mentions you can scale the AI agent's involvement up or down,
Really?
meaning for processes with less regulatory scrutiny, maybe the agent has more autonomy, but for highly sensitive or regulated areas.
You can limit its role or build in checks.
Exactly. You can design the process so that a human must review the agent's output before anything final happens. A human in the loop.
So you maintain control where it's most needed. That sounds vital for public sector adoption.
It's absolutely key. It allows us to leverage the AI's strengths strategically without compromising on accountability or oversight. It's not all or nothing.
Okay, that provides some reassurance. So let's talk about making this happen, operationalizing it. How do we actually put AI agents to work effectively?
Well, unsurprisingly, the article stresses process orchestration again. It's the foundation for making sure these end-to-end processes actually, work.
Because if they break,
The impact is immediate. Citizens get stuck, maybe can't access a service they need. Public servants waste time trying to fix broken automated steps. It undermines the whole point.
it creates frustration and damages trust.
Yeah.
We've probably all experienced a bad automated system somewhere.
Unfortunately, yes.
I-
So getting that seamless operation is critical. The article also highlights that we have choices in how we design the logic,
Choices
like deciding how much should be strictly predefined following rigid rules versus how much can leverage the AI agent's ability to handle variability.
finding the right balance.
Exactly. You might use predefined logic for critical compliance steps, but let an AI agent handle, say, summarizing incoming information where some variation is okay.
And the critical things needed to make this work successfully.
The article boils it down to a few key elements. First, being able to clearly define where the AI agent fits in the workflow. What's its specific job?
Okay, defining the scope.
Second, having that clear audit trail we talked about, knowing what it did and why.
Auditability, got it.
And third, the ability to easily integrate human intervention, those review steps or points where a human takes over if needed.
Human oversight and control points.
Those three seem to be the pillars for doing this responsibly.
So, thinking about our audience, public servants listening to this, how should they start applying this?
It really comes down to looking at your own workflows, your daily tasks. Where are the bottlenecks? Where are the repetitive parts that take up time but maybe don't require deep human judgment for every step?
Could an AI agent help gather information needed for a case? Or maybe draft an initial response to a common query?
Potentially, yes. Or analyze large amounts of data to spot trends that could inform policy or service improvements, things like that.
But always with that framework in mind, how do we define its task clearly? How do we check its work? How do we ensure a human is involved at the right moments?
Precisely. It's about augmenting human capabilities, not replacing them entirely. Freeing up people to focus on the complex, the nuanced, the empathetic parts of public service that AI, frankly, can't replicate.
Using the tool to make the human work more effective and maybe even more rewarding.
That's the ideal scenario. Better outcomes for citizens and a more efficient, focused role for public servants.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it feels like AI agents definitely present some exciting possibilities for tackling complexity and repetitive work in the public sector.
They do. The potential is there.
But, and it's a significant, but just plugging them in isn't the way. Strategic integration using process orchestration seems absolutely vital.
It's essential, non-negotiable, really, if you want to do this right, especially given the need for auditability, compliance.
And that constant need for human oversight, keeping people in control. Which kind of leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. As you think about your own work, your interactions with citizens,
Where could that independent reasoning capability of an AI agent actually be helpful? Where could it smooth things out or provide useful insights?
and crucially, how can you start thinking about designing those integrations in a way that's responsible, that builds trust,
Yeah.
that ultimately enhances the public service we all strive to deliver.
It's definitely something worth considering carefully. How can this technology support your mission to serve the public effectively and accountably? Food for thought.